god! No way I called that. This nigga survived 2 car crashes? YouTube's darkest videos. Let's see.
It's December 4th, 2003.
Arlington, Virginia.
A police officer walking in a local park in Arlington, Virginia, is approached by a concerned family, claiming that someone in a nearby neighborhood had been shooting off a flare gun. The officer could hear it too, and following the sound, he eventually found himself at the home of 56-year-old James Yu. The man lived alone in his half of this duplex, and was described by neighbors as a recluse known to exhibit unusual behavior. Across his social media, he made posts claiming that he was the victim of fraud at the hands of all sorts of government agencies, as he had a deep distrust of the US government as well as law enforcement, and he believed that numerous people were attempting to kill him, like his ex-wife, the FBI, and even his neighbors. His posts seemed entirely nonsensical, and so did many of his actions.
For that time, Lana, for 2 hours and 13 minutes.
His windows with garbage bags and aluminum foil, and he even wrapped his trees in toilet paper. And though these actions are entirely harmless, on this day, things were becoming
It's just weird.
troubling.
Oh shit!
When police arrived at his home, you would be seen firing his flare gun out of his window and into the air, over and over again, and despite repeated attempts to get him to stop.
Arlington County Police! Stop shooting the flares! Mr. Yu!
The hell is wrong with bro?
He didn't let up, shooting 41 flares in the span of just 2
God
minutes,
damn!
and he did it all with no explanation. In fact, he didn't even say a single word. Understandably, police were eager to get Yu out of his home for questioning, as at this point it wasn't obvious whether or not he was a threat. And so for hours and hours they called out to him, first asking and then demanding that he exit his home.
James, Arlington Police, under the front door with your hands up, do it now.
We saw this, no, I've never seen this before.
But still, there was no response. Growing impatient and worried that Yu might be planning something, the police would eventually bring in a specialized vehicle to bust down the door and spray the inside of the home with gas, all in an attempt to draw Yu outside.
What?
James, stay away from your front door. Stay away from your front door, James.
Yo, what the fuck?
And in response, Yu began firing once again. Only this time, he wasn't using flares.
That's Blicks!
And instead, he was now yielding an actual gun.
Those are Blicks!
Thankfully, none of these shots connected, but with the situation becoming increasingly dangerous, the officers decided to fall back, as they carefully came up with a new plan for apprehending Yu. Though whatever they had been planning would never come to fruition.
What do you mean? Yo, what if this nigga explodes his house, bro? What if this nigga explodes his fucking house? That would be some crazy ass shit, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my god! No way I called that shit! Oh my god! This nigga had fucking IEDs in his fucking house! There's no way! Oh my god! Yo, like, how do you respond to that? Yo, what the? Yo, there it. That is insane.
In a split second, the home was gone, as a massive explosion rang out from inside the house, reducing the entire structure to rubble. Inside the house, Yu had stored 55 gallons of gasoline in his basement, which he saved for that moment to ignite with no warning and no explanation.
Yo, you can't just sub after that, bro.
In a split second, the home was gone, as a massive explosion rang out from inside the house, reducing the entire structure.
Yo, I
to
couldn't
rubble.
imagine seeing something like this IRL,
Inside the
bro.
house, Yu had stored 55 gallons of gasoline in his basement, which he saved for that moment to ignite with no warning and no explanation. Based on the footage, it's been theorized that Yu's actions were an attempt to lure police into his home so that he could then set off this explosion and take them all out along with his neighbors, as he genuinely believed that both parties were conspiring to kill him. Though somehow, when the smoke cleared, no civilians or police officers had so much as been injured. All that was found in the rubble was the remnants of a single body. Though for a moment,
they didn't even find that nigga
this
body
wasn't
either.
the end of James Yu's story.
Yo, I'm about to say, imagine that nigga just faked his fucking death, bro. That would have been some crazy ass shit, bro.
Before that body could be
Holy
identified,
shit.
reports across social media began emerging showing that James Yu was somehow still alive.
Yo!
After the blast, comments were being made on what appeared to be Yu's YouTube channel, where he stated that this whole thing was a cover-up and that he wasn't even inside the home when the standoff started, which, looking back, we never actually see him, and we also never hear his voice. Numerous posts pointing out this development would go viral and cause mass confusion about the story.
Yo, does this nigga think he's the fucking Joker? Does this nigga think he's the fucking Joker?
Which was only heightened when it was revealed that the body inside that building was in fact James Yu. Though in the end, it wasn't really as mysterious as some originally thought. As it turns out, the post showing these comments failed to realize that this wasn't actually Yu's account, and instead it had a completely different username, with the account likely having been created as nothing more than a hoax.
But you're trying to tell me another nigga went under his name and just started spreading lies, bro?
Though there are some
That's
that still believe
crazy.
that this was all some sort of massive cover-up. But in reality, it just seems that this was the result of a man gripped by crippling paranoia and loneliness, with it all coming to a head in what has gone on to become one of YouTube's darkest videos.
Bro, bro, I ain't gonna lie, this nigga Nick Crowley be knowing how to, like, make an intro to a video, nigga. 'Cause I think this is only, like, the second video or, like, third video we watched from this nigga. I'm subscribing. So I think this is the same nigga that was making the video about the one dude's birthday, and he was telling them niggas on live, like, shut the fuck up, y'all niggas ain't gonna see me, and then those niggas pulled up while they were playing hide and seek and blicked that nigga. Oh my god. Yo, niggas doing the ad, bro. I fuck with you, Nick, but I can't see niggas doing better than me.
There was really nothing else like it. This obscure 27,000 square foot structure allowed visitors to enter into what must have felt like another dimension. It was an exhibit called Dream Space, and was the creation of British artist Maurice Agus, a 74-year-old artistic visionary obsessed with the idea of creating large-scale surreal environments, and this was his magnum opus. The structure was inflatable, akin to a massive bounce house, and once inside, guests were confronted with a labyrinth of brightly colored walls and cells, twisting and turning.
Motherfucker's so good, he made an ass sound good. Are you glazing like shit? Oh, I got donuts!
Sort of surreal maze that patrons were told to lose themselves in. This piece of art premiered back in 2004, and due to its inflatability, it was actually built to travel, making stops in major cities in the UK, before it was eventually set up at Riverside Park in Durham on the 22nd of June, 2006. The very next day, 68-year-old Elizabeth Collins would visit the area with her husband and her daughter, as well as her 14-year-old grandson.
I want to honor Ben's
Spotting
purchase.
this unusual structure in the distance,
yes, what
Elizabeth's
you think?
grandson insisted on
Like, are
checking
you
it
home?
out, excitedly taking off his shoes and running inside. And while the rest of the group was more apprehensive about entering, Elizabeth eventually decided to accompany him, leaving her husband and daughter on the outside, though not before turning back to them and joking that she was going to find peace and serenity. Outside, Elizabeth's husband and daughter sat at a nearby table and enjoyed a cup of tea.
I'm locked in on this video though.
Of the week, only for the man to turn his head and notice that Dream Space was slightly moving, to which he excitedly said, "Oh, it's a ride, it's a ride. I wish I had gone on it." The daughter then turned her head to see the structure as it began to rise up off the ground, to which she chillingly responded, "It's not a ride."
Fuck happened? No way, this shit explodes too, right? Okay, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, that's just getting way too fucking big. The fuck is this? Wait, is it landing on top of people, crushing them?
In that moment, Dream Space had snapped from its moorings and was blown into the air by a massive gust of wind. Agus just so happened to be standing at the entrance as it began to shift, and noticing what was happening, he grabbed on as he desperately tried to hold down his entire life's work.
How the—
Clearly, this was of no use.
Nah, bro, how the fuck is that even gonna be possible, dude? How did bro think he was just gonna hold that shit down? This nigga thought he was fucking Captain America in Civil War when that nigga was holding on to the airplane and holding on to that little metal bar, bro. You're not like that, bro.
And after being lifted in the air, his grip failed, sending him falling back to the ground below, where he lay staring up at his creation.
That's
now
crazy.
Flying 30 feet above him.
Damn. Science experiment gone wrong, bro. It looked like there was an explosion that happened, though. How heavy was this shit? Was it Jorgensen? And yes, we got glazed over.
Inside, there were as many as 30 people who were now being thrashed around this giant inflatable structure in a scene that I truly can't even imagine. The claustrophobia of it, the dizzying colors, the screams.
Oh my goodness, imagine being inside of that, bro.
I've ever heard. The inflatable structure was airborne for well over a minute, folding into itself before finally crashing back down into a parking lot, leaving behind what was described by witnesses as a field of bodies. Worst
That's
of all,
insane.
The majority of those in attendance were families with small children, with one 7-year-old girl recounting her experience, saying,
Like, bro, and I just be thinking of shit like that. Like, bro,
People
do
were
you
screaming.
not, you know how unlucky you gotta be? Like, nigga, this is a story about real individuals that were inside of this shit, bro. You know how unlucky you gotta be to be inside that shit?
screaming. I saw a lady clinging on and then falling out, and then she was lying on her back with people around her. I think she died. This lady was most likely 68-year-old Elizabeth
Damn.
Connors, who had been
R.I.P.
ejected from the
Elizabeth.
structure when it was in the air, with her injuries being catastrophic and unsurvivable. Of all the others now sprawled throughout this field of grass, most were left injured but thankfully not in serious condition, though this wasn't the case for 38-year-old Claire Vermege, who had been inside during the accident with her 2 children, and despite her kids surviving, she was sadly not so lucky, with Claire and Elizabeth being the sole fatalities of the incident.
That's
The
crazy.
video is terrifying, and though it's easy to say that this could have
I'm
been so
free.
much worse,
Oh, yeah,
considering
buddy.
how many people were in dream space at the time, the consequences were still catastrophic, as it devastated 2 families, and likely left many others at the scene traumatized for life, especially the young children. But how could this have happened? Well, that day was particularly warm, which likely caused the air inside the structure to expand, causing a hot air balloon-like effect, which was
Damn.
then exacerbated by sudden strong gusts of wind, which eventually caused the structure to go airborne, as in the end, it just wasn't properly secured for the conditions. Soon after the incident, Maurice Agus was arrested for manslaughter, though he would ultimately only end up paying a small fine, as he vowed to never create a large work again. Just a few years later, in 2009, Maurice Agus would pass away, with his legacy forever being
Damn.
defined by this devastating footage.
So my niggas can't even be scientists anymore, bro. That's crazy. My nigga said he has to give up his hopes and dreams after that fucking situation. What's next? Chapter 3. The Elaine Campion tape.
On October 2nd, 2006, police entered the home of 31-year-old Elaine Campioni, where inside they
Campioni.
found the woman speaking incoherently. Next to her was a VHS camera, depicting a series of disturbing events that had transpired within the home over the previous months and days,
The fuck?
with the footage eventually finding its way onto YouTube.
Hi, Serena. It's
Oh, the
August
VHS
8th,
footage?
2006. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
This nigga
to
took the
you.
audio and
The tape starts
distorted
with
it in the
Elaine pointing her
beginning.
new camera at her daughter Serena. It was her 3rd birthday, and to celebrate, Elaine had left a brand new bike in the living room.
Oh shit, she better be whooping in that hoe.
Days later, the footage continues, showing Serena once again as Elaine asks,
How does Mama love you?
How much does mama
Oh,
love
I
you? Okay.
More than that. How much does your Mama love you?
Elaine then shows her other daughter Sophia, who was just a baby, before turning the camera on herself and showing the kids how the device worked.
You also can't get over the first one. That nigga exploded his own
See,
fucking
I didn't
crib out of
think
paranoia.
Look. Hi. Is that Mommy? Hi.
So far, the footage seems like nothing more than your standard family home videotape, and appears completely wholesome. Though with the next recording, the tone begins to shift, and things start to become slightly concerning.
Oh shit.
This is a deplorable, horrible, messy, filthy apartment that supposedly my 2 children and I live in, and it's just a horrible, horrible mess.
That shit not even messy.
I think Diego Campione is totally in the wrong, and I hope he burns in hell for all his sins.
What the
His
fuck?
name is Leonardo.
As Elaine shows the camera her home, she begins joking about how they are living in deplorable conditions, before randomly calling out 2 men who she says she hopes burn in hell, all while her children are in the same room. She starts to grow more and more agitated.
All I wanted to do was take care of my 2 little girls and live happily ever after the 3 years of physical, emotional, and mental abuse that I endured.
God damn, what was she going through?
Leonardo Campione, and then the past year from Anna and Diego Campione, the mental and emotional abuse.
Outright saying that she was abused by a man named Leonard Campione, who happened to be her ex-husband and the father of these children.
Damn.
And she goes on from there, with each moment clearly making the kids more and more anxious.
And I want justice to my family for what they have all done to us.
God damn, what did bro do to her?
They should have charged him for the assaults he did to me.
Eventually causing Elaine to snap out of it and stop the camera.
And my poor 3-year-old, I did everything to protect.
Nah, that motherfucker must have
What do
been.
you
Oh
think,
shit.
Sophia?
Baby scared the
What
fuck
do
out
you
of me.
want?
Don't do that, baby. Don't do that, baby.
The video then
Chill
skips
out.
forward once more, with this footage being taken just days before the police were called, showing Serena coloring on the floor as Elaine asks,
Who loves ya? Mommy. Who loves you the most? That much? Oh, I think I love you more than that.
The scene that unfolds next was recorded on that very same night, just hours later.
Recording this because
I'll be about to kill herself.
are you happy? Everything's gone.
Oh yeah, she about to kill herself.
You wouldn't
In GTA.
peace. You wouldn't tell the truth. You didn't care about our babies. You didn't care about me. You care about yourself.
Yo, you can't do shit like this in the
You did.
in that small ass crib, bro. Your kids hear everything.
In the video, Elaine
She
states
having a
that
mental
everything
breakdown.
is gone, as she speaks to Leo directly, accusing him of having ruined their lives with his constant abuse.
You are truly the devil. And I hate you.
God
I hate
damn.
You, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, and I want you to know how much I hate you.
Disturbingly, the children were nowhere to be seen in this footage, with Elaine eventually addressing them by saying,
God believes me, and God's taking care of them now. He's protected by God.
What does she mean by that?
Thank him. Because there's no way I could have them with you. Nothing's good enough.
Nigga. She killed her kids. She killed her kids. Bro, what's been up with these YouTube videos and motherfuckers slaying their kids out of revenge? Like, bro, that is so crazy. Please tell me it's not true, though.
Your way. Well, they're good. And you can have it your way.
Please tell me it's not true, though.
Dead now.
Your wife and your daughter are dead now. Bro,
We're all in heaven.
that is crazy.
according to Elaine, not only were her children gone, but she was too, as she stops the recording soon after. Despite saying this, the camera would actually start up one more time, where Elaine describes how she was still alive, despite having attempted to OD, which prompted her to call the police.
Bro, there's just, I just never understood how you can make your own flesh and blood, look at them, and then look at your closest butcher knife and be like, yeah, I can go through with this. Like, what, dude? That is insane.
When officers arrived at the home, both Serena and Sophia were found laying in her mother's bed, holding hands, and wrapped tightly in rosaries. Neither
Wait.
of them were alive. When officers arrived at the home, both Serena and Sophia were found laying in her mother's bed, holding hands, and wrapped tightly in rosaries. Neither of them were alive.
That's sad,
2 nights
bro.
prior and directly before filming this message, Elaine had brought them both into the bathroom as it was time for their nightly baths. And once in the tub, she told them to play a game, one where they would place their heads beneath the water and blow out bubbles. When they did this, Elaine held their heads down, and she didn't let go until she was certain they were gone.
Yo, I feel so bad, bro. They never asked to be put on this earth, and they didn't ask to get taken out like that, bro. That is sad as fuck.
This footage is some of the most disturbing that I've ever seen, as we get a glimpse into Elaine's descent into madness in the moments directly before she stole her children's lives. But all of this leaves one obvious question. Why? Well, it was noted during her investigation that the abuse she alleged from her ex-husband Leo
On God,
seemed to
they're
be
like
very
good kids
real
too,
and well
AKZ.
documented over the years, leading to Leo not being able to see his children for over a year, with this causing the two to separate, which is when Elaine's mind began to deteriorate. She began believing that people were following her and were going to kill her, with this fear of people eventually shifting to a fear of aliens, as she claimed to have seen them on numerous occasions, believing they were following her. Because of this fear, she refused to let her children out of her sight, not even allowing her own parents to look after them, causing her to become so attached to these children that she genuinely began to believe that they were all one entity, which made things incredibly concerning when she became suicidal and eventually attempted to take her own life.
What?
Despite Leo's more
Motherfucker just be saying anything, bro.
Supposedly turned his life around in the years leading to this footage, and was eventually allowed to start visiting the children on a limited capacity. And seeing the children and seeing the way their mother was behaving, he began to grow incredibly concerned, and eventually attempted to gain full custody. And it was this bitter custody battle that seemed to be the ultimate factor that led to Elaine ending the lives of her children.
It's always a fight for custody over the kids, bro. Like, holy shit, bro. Motherfuckers dead ass kill themselves and the kids, bro, because they... That's so dumb to me.
Elaine Campione would be charged with 2 counts of murder and would eventually be sentenced to life in prison, with a possibility of parole after 25 years. Today, she's held in a minimum security prison, where she's free to leave once every weekend to attend church and other functions.
Fuck no, keep that bitch locked up, bro. Chapter 4. Gavin Collins Road Rage. Oh shit, car accident.
On April 18th, 2010, a 39-year-old man named Gavin Collins was released from the HMP Ranby prison in the UK. His freedom would last less than 24 hours, as the very next day he suffered a severe mental breakdown, the result of which was captured partially across several video recordings that later appeared on YouTube. This is the story of his rampage.
Why nigga look so creepy? Oh, another one? You heard about this one?
At approximately 9 a.m. in the city of Nottinghamshire when Gavin left his home. As he walked down the sidewalk, those in the area reported him acting strangely, muttering to himself that he was Jesus and that he was invincible. Without warning, he then turned his attention to a random home, which he forcefully entered, stole a man's car keys, and took his vehicle, taking off with no apparent destination. Inside the car, the owner just so happened to have 2 cameras, one being a standard dash cam and the other facing inside the vehicle, giving us a look at Gavin and his apparent mental state.
This is me. Jesus Christ, I'll show you how good a eyesight's I've got.
Oh yeah, nah, this nigga's crazy.
Come on, let's go, bro. So, get rid of all that crap is. Let's go, let's go.
Just at a glance, it's
that
obvious that Gavin is
like
completely unhinged.
Bro.
For some reason, he was utterly filled with rage, ripping off the rearview mirror and yelling obscenities and incomprehensible threats at no one in particular.
I'm enraged! I'm Jesus! I'm descendant of God! And you lock me up! Watch this! You...
And most concerning of all is the speed in which he's
say,
traveling.
yeah, bro,
As
that
he
nigga
starts
going
driving faster and faster,
shit,
swerving in and out of cars as he passes through busy residential areas, as he reaches speeds that have been estimated to be anywhere from 85 miles an hour to well over 120.
Yeah, it looks like 110, bro. Holy shit.
And stronger by the second!
But somehow, despite countless close calls, every time he avoids collision. At least for the time being.
I'm about to say, bro. Don't show this nigga getting this shit fucked. Please don't. Damn. Did this shit explode?
In an instant, Gavin smashes the vehicle into a brick home at full speed.
Oh, now I gotta play that shit in slow fucking motion, nigga. God damn, nigga. That's insanity.
Gavin smashes the vehicle into a brick home at full speed, with the impact being devastating. And yet somehow, through the destruction, Gavin was not only still alive, but completely unharmed.
What?
Completely unfazed. He pulled himself from the wreckage and immediately turned his attention to a woman driving nearby, and within moments he had forced his way into the vehicle and was behind the wheel once again, continuing this deranged driving speed until once again he crashed. And much like the initial collision, he survived, walking away unscathed before turning his attention to another random home. In pursuit of stealing his third vehicle, he grabbed a nearby...
This nigga survived 2 car crashes? Yo, what the fuck?
Concrete slab and began to smash through the home's doors, bloodying his hand in the process, before eventually making entry. Inside were a mother and her 2 children, one of which was 5 years old,
Yo,
and the other
what?
wasn't even a year. Gavin approached the terrified family, yelling and demanding that the mother give up her car keys, telling her that he was Jesus and that, because I am Jesus, I will kill you if you don't give me the keys. Without hesitation, she did as he said. Gavin then went to each member of the family, and with his injured hand, he drew crosses on their forehead, out of his own blood, before taking off with his 3rd stolen car.
Yo, these niggas be so... I'm baffled at the fact that he survived 2.
Once again, Gavin was driving manically, though this time he was even more reckless, crashing into a brick wall and then a cop car, before setting his sights on a pedestrian. While speeding through a neighborhood, Gavin would see a man standing innocently near a bus stop, and for whatever reason, the sight of this man enraged him, causing Gavin to slam on the brakes and reverse the vehicle, stepping on the gas as hard as he could, and crashing directly into him,
What
leaving
the
him lying
fuck?
there with devastating injuries. Gavin quickly exited the vehicle and found the man lying motionless on the ground, prompting him to shout, "I've killed him. I've killed the devil."
What the
Minutes
fuck?
later, Gavin would crash yet another car into yet another home, though this time the police weren't far behind.
I'm about to say, like, where's the cops during all this, bruh? Like, holy, like, how long did it take for this nigga to acquire 3 different fucking cars, run over a random ass pedestrian, and still get away, my nigga? Damn.
This way. I'll get him out. I'll get him out. Oh no!
What the fuck, bro?
Finally bringing his disturbed driving spree to an end. The man that Gavin had struck was 87-year-old Terry Radford, a retired teacher whose injuries were catastrophic.
Why are we chasing after old teachers, my nigga? Like, what possibly gave this nigga the assumption that this nigga was the devil?
With the man passing away soon after. According to his family, Terry was an incredible grandfather, father, and son. The footage is genuinely horrifying.
Yeah,
but
nah,
what's
this
more
nigga's
shocking
a
of all
fucking
is the
freak.
fact that any of this was even allowed to happen. As stated previously, this was Gavin's very first day.
Honestly, all this happened in
and
24
based on
hours,
the behavior
nigga.
he exhibited whilst in prison, he really should have never been released. Gavin was granted an early release in March of 2019 for charges based around burglary, but just as he was set to be freed, it was discovered that he had submitted an adulterated drug test, which caused his case to be re-examined and resulted in his release being postponed. In response, Gavin lost his mind. Later that month, he assaulted a prison guard before spraying him with an unknown liquid that contained bleach, before proceeding to set his cell on fire and attacking another officer with a piece of wood. Due to his actions, Gavin was placed into an isolated cell, where less than a week later he started yet another fire, and when an officer entered his cell to put it out, Gavin struck them in the head and pulled out a plastic knife,
And we we let this nigga free for what? Why did we let bro free if we knew that he was clinically insane?
threatening to slash him, stating that it would be a thrill to kill him. Gavin's stay in prison clearly hadn't rehabilitated him. In fact, it seemed to have made him more violent than ever before, and more mentally disturbed. Though shockingly, despite all of these additional crimes, Colin's release would go on to be approved less than 2 weeks later, with
Like,
Gavin
what
being
the
set free
fuck?
on April 18th. And within
So
just
2 weeks later, this nigga got put in solitary confinement where he fucking started another fire and then attacked a prison guard. And 2 weeks later, we're like, yep, you know what? This nigga is good. You know what?
24
He's
hours,
good.
Terry Radford would be brutally killed.
Like, what?
Gavin was sentenced to 21 years in prison, and during his trial it was revealed that no drugs were found in his system. And instead, this all seemed to be the result of some sort of psychotic episode that just so happened to be
So this nigga was completely sober during all this. Wow, okay.
captured on camera in one of YouTube's darkest videos.
Okay, wow. That's crazy. But that was a good ass video though. Oh my goodness, this nigga Nick be cooking. He be cooking, I ain't gonna lie, bro. That was W video.